What is up, YouTube? Man, let me tell y'all something, man. Let me tell you something about Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen has been on fire, and chapter 250 is no different. You see, the chapter starts by explaining to us what Yuta domain true mutual love does. And basically, he can choose one katana that has a curse technique imbued in it to use as a short hit effect. The other katanas are scattered around his domain at random, but Yuta could only use his katana once. And the other drawback to it is that he doesn't know what curse technique is stored in which katana until he grabs that katana, which I think is pretty cool that they're just making sure that his domain isn't overpowerful. And when he uses that katana, he can use the curse technique an infinite amount of time as long as it's in his domain. And we see that Yuta ends up sending the mini Rika Shikigamas at Sukuna, who deflects them, and that's a copy curse technique that Yuta had did in the past. But Yuji ends up following up with his punches, his soul-breaking punches, and of course, his soul-breaking punches has an effect on Sukuna, while Rika tries to smash Sukuna from above, but he ends up dodging that attack, and he thinks Sukuna himself starts to think about how Yuta is creating a barrier for Rika's path. And this is also further followed by Yuta using Uro space bending technique. As Sukuna prepares to face this, he analyzes that after his fight with Satoru Gojo, he still can't use his domain expansion and that his reverse curse technique is dull. Furthermore, Sukuna's curse energy pool is currently the same as Yuta, and he also cannot use his world-cutting dismantle while using the hollow whisker basket at the same time. That is Gege's way of making sure that he can't just use the world-cutting dismantle willy-nilly, because he will end everything quickly if he does. Rika then launches Yuta like a missile towards Sukuna while Yuta prepares to hit Sukuna with another attack. But Sukuna tanks Yuta's sword. However, Yuji lands his kick on Sukuna. This again shakes up Sukuna's soul because, again, Yuji has the soul-breaking punches. Yuji can sense the realm between Sukuna and Megami's soul, seeing as he was the vessel for Sukuna. And so because he was that vessel, he could see in between that, and that's where he strikes exactly. Yuji is trying to obstruct the tuning of Sukuna's soul and Megami's body, trying to wake up Megami's soul, which has sunk in deep through the ritual that Sukuna did. And because after that ritual, it sunk Megami's soul to the bottom, and so Yuji is trying to wake that up, which Sukuna realizes, because every time that Yuji hits Sukuna, his curse energy output drops and his control over Megami also drops, which is pretty cool. And Sukuna is actually getting ready to counterattack when Yuta, who saves Yuji from about to get his ass cut up, uses Inumaki's curse speech by telling him to freeze or don't move, and then he hits Sukuna with Thin Icebreaker again. I swear Yuta loves that attack, Thin Icebreaker. But they're not giving Sukuna a time to breathe. And Rika punches and thrashes Sukuna away. Yuta and Yuji immediately rush and attack in a perfectly synced combo. But we know this is Sukuna, the strongest sorcerer in history, decides to use his counterattack and immediately send Cleave towards both of our protagonists. Then he kicks Rika in the face, and I think he ends up using Cleave on her face also. And Sukuna states that for him to deal a fatal blow, he needs to touch and cut them, not just because of his current low curse energy output, but also because they have improved their defensive capabilities, even though their defense isn't as high as Ryo Ishigori. And this also further proves that Sukuna needed to touch Ryu to actually kill him. Yuji also learning the reverse curse technique, and Yuta limiting his domain sure hit effects only towards Sukuna is also the reason for his need to touch them to fatally injure them. So their defense have gotten crazy strong. Sukuna asked Yuji what he did in the past month, which Yuji simply states effort and persistent, and Yuta follows by saying that they cheated. And he's probably saying that they cheated because they analyzed the fight with Satoru Gojo, and they utilized the information Gojo gave them during the fight with Sukuna, and they ended up in that 1 month time begin to train hard and increase their defensive capabilities. And this is something that even Yuta thinks about, where he said that Gojo had not left any last effect on Sukuna, that they would have instantly died from Sukuna's cleaves, because Sukuna is just that dude. While Yuji, on the other hand, he's scared to imagine what will happen if they do not stop Sukuna right here, right now. Rika, Yuta, and Yuji continues to attack Sukuna when Yuta uses Charles' curse technique, clairvoyancy, to peek into the future. This surprises Sukuna. It shows him evading Sukuna's attack, and he ends up hitting Sukuna in the face. Sukuna then begins to count all the curse techniques that Yuta has copied. This is all the curse techniques that Yuta copied. Angel's Jacob Later, Eurospace Bending, Darrell Shikigami, and Omaki's curse speech, Charles' future sight, his clairvoyancy. Now, this is the question that us in the community had always wondered, and Sukuna is answering it for us. Sukuna wonders if Yuta has copied Gojo's infinity, but he discards that idea because infinity can only be used by 6 eyes. Like, anybody with the 6th eye can have full mastery over infinity. That's something that Yuta doesn't have, so he can't copy infinity. And besides, 6 eyes is a biological thing. That's definitely something that he cannot copy. Yuta realizes that Sukuna will only show an opening to a curse technique that he is seeing for the first time, which caused Yuta to grab a katana, saying this is the one. Yuta begins using Uro's curse technique. Yuta bends space and time, pushes a sword through it, but Sukuna catches it with one hand. As Sukuna catches the sword with an annoying look on his face, Yuta used Sukuna's own curse technique, which is, this was so surprising. He says Hachi, or cleave, on Sukuna himself. Sukuna's face began to get bombarded with slashes, and the chapter ends with Sukuna on slashes raining down on him. That was incredible that Yuta used Sukuna's own curse technique. That's amazing. What do you guys think is going to happen in the next chapter? Do you think Sukuna, because his own curse technique, can handle it? Or will Yuta and Yuji end up beating Sukuna? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace out, y'all.